informed sessions. We're here to bridge the gap, so sit back, enjoy the show, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and spread the good word. This week's episode will be centering around PSR and the salary cap. So let's get into it. How do we feel about the? Has the vote been passed already? Potts, I'm kind of leaning on you
Yeah, it's
towards
been
this.
passed and it's no longer PSR, it's SCR, squad cost ratio. So
Gotcha. So,
gone are the days of PSR, and here we are with SCR. Uh, they
What
got
are
the
some
hammer
highlights of it?
last
yeah,
week.
Yeah, for some of the viewers out there that might not be caught up, do you want to do like a high level overview of the big changes, and then we can obviously weigh in our some of our
Take
input.
some.
Yeah, so SCR, squad cost ratio, is a new PSR. It's to limit the spending to the max revenue of 85%. So if you make 100 mil, you can only spend 85 mil. It replaces the PSR, as we said, and it's supposed to be more aligned with the UEFA rules. Uh, this is now concentrating more on like what a club does on the field with like player sales, like revenues from the stadium, instead of like overall revenue, like what Chelsea would do, sell the women's team to itself or the car park to itself, and that would be counted towards PSR. Those would not be counted towards SCR. So, in a broad summary, that's what these new rules are for. So I think overall it's going to hurt the league personally, but we'll see.
so who does this benefit mainly? I guess.
Definitely benefits the big six, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, because like I can imagine clubs that are, let's say, I don't want to say weaker teams, but like at the bottom half, that the revenue, might not be the same as United's or Chelsea's or Liverpool's. You know,
So we're talking about revenue as in like what the stadium brings in.
Yeah, what they
Um,
make from player sales minus player acquisitions, like all that.
okay.
Like Bournemouth
Also,
only has 12,000 seats, bro. Like, how are they supposed to keep up with like United that has 75,000 seats?
seats, yeah.
Like, what?
And
And
Who
this is
who
across the
enforces this?
entire prem.
Yeah.
yeah, this across the entire prem. It was done by the FA, so the Football Association, and it was
And who were the ones that voted?
everybody in the Premier League. They needed like a three-fourths like decision, like 14 teams needed to vote on it to get it passed. And it got passed. I mean, I think that the smaller club is like, obviously they don't want to see like what happened with like what Liverpool is spending, 500 million in one transfer window, but in the long run, I think it's gonna I think it's gonna hurt everybody in multiple ways. One, I mean, you know, I don't think it's gonna hurt Chelsea as bad as it's gonna hurt other players. One, because we already profited off of like selling our women's team, selling our car park, selling the hotels to ourselves. But other teams can't do that anymore. I think Villa took advantage of that. But other teams won't be able to do that. That do have women's teams that do have like underlying assets in their portfolio, which could help them in a down year, like how Chelsea used it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting you said that about Bournemouth because the six teams that voted against the SCR rule is Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton,
yeah,
Palace, Fulham, and Leeds.
of course.
So you
Yeah.
could see that, and that makes kind of sense with the
Yeah,
audience
they're not
level and
they're not
everything.
gonna make they're not gonna make any money. They're not gonna be able to buy players. When Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, they make millions being on all seven well, I guess not Antarctica, but all other continents, doing their brand outreach. And then Chelsea's already gotten a head start on getting, the two club model. Chelsea's already started to get a head start on, buying young players.
Could this be a look towards the future? Like
so
saying
it's
in
not,
terms of
but you
like,
have to remember real quick, it's not something new. I feel like we need to emphasize that. This
yeah,
is like all the big clubs have been under this model via UEFA for years, right? This is the model UEFA has been using. And so it's not like this is something that's going to change the big clubs. And I think that kind of backs up what Potts was saying, right? Like for the big clubs, they're already used to falling under these rules. We've already had to follow those rules for ages. It's now the bottom, I don't want to say bottom tier, but like the middle to lower table teams that they never even had to worry about this, and now it's a whole new set of rules that actually hurt them. I do think like so the vote, there were two things that passed. The one part of the vote that didn't pass was the one that I was the most shocked with. It was a top to bottom amortization. Wait, top to
Yeah,
bottom anchoring.
yeah,
Apologize.
yeah.
And that's where I thought it would really hurt the Prem. And the idea was, can we make it a little bit more even where the top clubs can only spend a percentage of the
Yeah,
bottom club's revenue? And I
yeah,
think that makes sense if the Prem is only in the Prem. But if you look at the other leagues, that would have hurt the Prem. Like, so that's why I feel like, okay, what happened is actually a positive for me because instead of like two different systems that you have to follow, PSR and UEFA, now both systems are aligned, both systems are the same. Some of the numbers are off, but I feel like that's easier for bigger clubs to manage. And then the top to bottom anchoring, that just I feel bad for the lower table clubs, but at the same time, it's like, did you look outside at the other leagues? The Bundesliga has what that 5-1 ratio rule, which really means no company can invest in a Bundesliga team, right? So I hate to say this, I don't think they'll ever get to a level where they can spend like the Prem. But bro, La Liga is scary. I really believe like you look at what Atletico is doing, and they just got a new owner that's spending a ton of money. Um, yeah, not to talk about other leagues, but when we talk about like protecting the Prem, I don't see this as hurting the Prem too much. I feel like the part that's hurting that would have hurt the Prem, they all voted no on, or not all. It didn't pass. Um, but yeah, I'm not too
Yeah,
worried about it. But
I
yeah,
saw that there was a couple agencies that are going to be suing the Premier League because of this. Because, like you were saying, the
I didn't
top to
even see
bottom
that.
anchoring.
mhm.
Yeah, I heard like CAA base, CAA Stellar, and Wasserman have all kind of made their positions clear on this whole SCR thing.
Well, the anchoring didn't get passed, and that was the players, whatever association, they were going to sue the Premier League based on that. That's what I read. I don't know. I didn't hear about this, but I think that yeah, it's not as bad as the anchoring would have been for the Premier League in general, but I do think that it's gonna like, I think that all these rules like end up hurting,
The lower,
all the non-established teams in a sense because like let's just take Newcastle. They got the richest owners in the entire world. Like nobody's richer than them. Like yeah, maybe the royal family, but like there's literally nobody else that's richer than what the Saudi PSR, and they can't spend their money. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, when City got their owners, they came in and obviously changed City. When Chelsea did it for the first time, we had our owner came in and changed the whole Premier League. But nobody else is going to be able to get to that level again, just because Bournemouth can't just pick up stadiums and build a 50,000 seat stadium or something like that. Like they are where they are. I mean, they're just going to stay like that, and this top six is just going to be the top six.
But I mean, even to your point, so I think that 30% allocation, though, that's where it feels a little shady to me. So, like, effectively, you can spend up to 85%, right? If you break that 85%, PSR had two types of penalty: transfer bans and points deduction, right? Chelsea got hit with a transfer ban. Everton always got hit with the points deduction for some reason, even though Man City escaped
I'm
that.
gonna say, yeah.
Bro, you almost feel bad for Everton, but right now it's changed where it's like if you go above 85%, you have another 30%. Your only penalty is money. So if you are a Saudi owner owning Newcastle, bro, you're not worried about the 85. You got money to blow. So you're looking at that 115 and saying that's where the real penalties come in. It's almost like the US sports market where it's like the luxury tax, right? It's like I've never seen this before in the Prem, but it's almost like they're introducing the concept of a luxury tax where it's like, yeah, if you go above, you still have a 30% threshold. We're gonna make more money as the Prem, but if you're not a rich team, you're screwed. But I still think, to Pot's point, I think like Newcastle and those teams, they probably are happy with this because it goes from transfer ban and points deduction to just paying more money, and they got so much money that it's like, yeah, dude, we'll throw that easy.
So
So
if there's this like giant divide, I guess my question would be like, what makes you, what made the FA want to do this? Like, is it because of the sanctions that have been
and
floating in the air from City and Chelsea, or is it like what's the
PSR
what's
has not
the
been
motive
working
behind them for
because
doing this?
PSR is a joke.
Yeah,
Like the last 10 years, you see so many articles about like PSR being a joke, and that's why it's a joke that Everton keep on getting slammed with it
Yeah.
because everyone else seems to get. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like even as fans, we all laugh about it. Um, and then, dude, that 30%, who do you think gets that money? Like
The
all the
Prem.
fine, the Prem gets the money. So it's like I don't know. I don't want to sound like conspiracy theorist, but
Well, I mean, and we were
FA
kind
is
of
making
touching
a
on
lot
this
more money.
before, but do you think that's going to go into like, owners' right or owning rights and also like media distribution? Like how, like, do you think that's they're saving up the pot for to splash the cash at like a Netflix so that they can get those games showed
They
there?
no the talking model you always see is that they're going to spend it on grassroots efforts. I mean, bro, I don't know.
Mm.
But I also like I don't live in England. I'll say like the England has invested a ton in their youth football since like
Hmm.
2000. It was it 2004 2006 World Cup. Yeah, that was a big push. And then like a couple years later, they started investing in their coaches. We're now seeing the fruition of that, dude. There's a lot of good young English talent. So maybe they actually are investing in the grassroots like they say they are. And if that's the case, and the same thing is true for coaches, then in the next like 5-6 years, we might see some really good English coaches come out. But who knows? I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I think that I mean, I think that there, that the bottom, like smaller teams, like they do, like that they do, like what they want is theoretically, like, yeah, like it makes sense. Like you don't want a City, Chelsea, a Liverpool, United. Tottenham don't really spend that much money, but a big club to just be, splashing cash when they can't do it. You know what I mean? But in my head, the way at least I think about it is like, the Premier League is the hottest market, so there's going to be big investors that come in and take over a club. And now, whether or not that messes with the fan culture or this or that, but obviously, there's a lot of rich owners, and they are willing to spend if there weren't any rules. And I think that that's where those smaller teams are going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage. But yeah, we'll see. I think that it is going to encourage a lot of youth investment and a lot of academy investment, a lot of like scouting players young, which can be exciting. Obviously, you get to honor talents like Esteval and others, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes.
But this is obviously super new, so would love to hear from y'all what you guys think in terms of your perspective, especially as it seems a little closer to the U.S. market, which obviously we're a little bit more familiar with, and some of the caps and luxury tax, excuse me, that we see here. But
I know Chelsea's going to kill it. I know that.
I was about to say, Bowley's doing that with the Dodgers. He's
Yeah,
probably looking at this like,
oh,
all right,
Chelsea's going to
let's.
kill that, bro. This is going to be easy money for us. We're going to find all the loopholes. We're going to fix it up. You know what I mean? But
And that's a good point, right? A part of this is kind of
Yeah.
shoring up loopholes and being
Finding the
reactive.
loopholes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk about like Aston Villa and Chelsea as probably the two biggest examples where they sold the women's team, and even Barcelona selling their media team. Like you see situations that seem a little shady, and now they've closed the book on that, right? Because to Pot's point, PSR doesn't impact that, but they don't retroactively penalize anyone, and they can't, right?
yeah,
There's loopholes, so I sometimes wonder, like, is the Prem's legal team this bad? Where like City is able to just go in and just find every loophole imaginable and be like, all right, we're just gonna. So again, I don't know the legalese to this, so I'm hoping that with these new laws, there's less loopholes, there's more
these
more
guys are
oversight.
businessmen. Yeah, these guys are businessmen. You know what I mean? So they're legaled up. They know what to do. The FA is just a governing body. You know what I mean? It's
It's
like the
becoming more data driven, right? It's not more so on the pitch anymore. It's all about data. How
yeah,
how
money
data
ball.
gets transferred all the way up, and then it's all about player contracts, how much you can buy a player for, sell a player for. You know,
I think
uh,
you bring up a good point in terms of like selling players. I think with PSR there was always this unknown number around agent fees, but with SCR, agent fees have to be transparent and shared. And I wonder how that's going to change some of the narratives we see during transfer windows. And I'll be the first to say this: Liverpool, whenever they sign a player, the wages always seem low. Like if you compare it to all what we're, but then at the end of the year, because we're publicly traded, when those numbers come out, or not publicly traded, sorry, when the numbers come out at the end of the year, our player wages are like top 2 or 3 every single year. So when you look at like the differences between like what was reported and what is actually reported from a financial status, people say the gap is almost always in the agent world. And so I'm curious, like now with this new rule, you're going to have to see that gap. And I feel like Liverpool are going to be the first team that we actually see like, okay, they actually are playing payers probably a little bit more than usual. Holland in that total, let's call it BS when he signed for City and all the weird numbers around all that, bro. Like that can't happen anymore. If they are like serious about SCR and agent fees and all that transparency is actually supposed to come out.
Yeah.
So I think Brat, you bring up a really good point, right? Like not just the data, but like the parts of a transfer that we know is like actually moving up. We're hopefully going to actually get some insight into, and
Mhm.
that's
City gonna have to get Holland
Let's see.
when he was leaving Salzburg or whatever Red Bull team he was on, not when he was leaving Dortmund. That's
exactly.
Dortmund, yeah.
you have to take those gambles.
That makes for an interesting Premier League though, for trying to get, instead of getting like those top signings that are worth 150 mil, these unknown
You
signings
also
come
you
in.
also tune into the Premier League to see the best players. You know what I mean? Like that's why you watch Real Madrid because they got the best players. I'm not
I mean,
watching.
I don't. I feel like the Premier League is more so like because of like the energy, like any game is liable to be like a really high contending game. It doesn't matter like if it's Burnley versus City. Like if Burnley's up for it that day, obviously like yeah for sure like you want to see the Hollands and the Vertzes and all that stuff do really well because these players are worth a lot of money. But I
But I
mean,
feel like that's to a Premier League
Fan
almost
perspective,
like
yeah.
fan, you know? Like nowadays, I feel like Premier League's almost trying to reach the common man, you know, and trying to get them into be a viewer on whatever platform that they're airing any of the games on, you know,
I
and
feel
they
like
want
they're
it to be
trying to
the
make
best
every
game.
game like really exciting. They're trying to make like
Yeah,
it's not just
exactly.
big City versus Liverpool, Chelsea versus top. Like they want every game to be uh, like high pace, high intensity.
Right.
Yeah,
All
But this is like now we have to go back in like history, dude. This is like to the FA's credit, they played their cards incredibly, man. Because you have to remember, in the '90s, they gave TV rights away for dirt cheap, so that they could get the African market, the Asian market specifically. And in that time, bro, the Italian league was huge. La Liga was huge, and they didn't do that. It was hard to watch games, bro. From someone growing up in Korea, I could not watch La Liga or Serie A games. Prem was on every single week, bro. It was
Yeah.
easy to watch, and they capitalized on that. Did crazy marketing, and now they're in a position where like it's not just like the competitiveness, dude. Like I read this thing where La Liga, the distribution of TV rights is so overwhelmingly positive for the top two teams, Real Madrid and Barcelona. It's a joke when you break it down.
yeah,
Whereas the Prem is still like weighted, but it's a lot more even. And so you see these teams like Burnley and Bournemouth and all these like smaller clubs benefit from decisions made in the '90s where the Prem was like, no, we're just going to focus on getting our product, the game, to everybody. Like, let's focus on that because once you pick a team in a league, it's hard to switch. And bro, all these Korean people we watched, I picked Liverpool. A lot of my friends picked United. They're never changing teams. They're never going to be like, I'm bored of
Yeah.
United. I'm going to
Very
watch
loyal.
Salzburg. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't matter what the Austrian league does. Like you pick a team, and
you
for
stay
better or
with it.
worse, you're loyal to it. Yeah, exactly.
Amen.
So I don't know. I think the '90s was really smart by the Prem, and now they're in a position where they can make all these crazy rules, knowing they have the most money. And
And no one's gonna
Serie
switch
A
up.
just dropped the ball, bro. Like they
yeah,
used to.
Yeah,
but that goes back to the point. Like, there's like the Serie A, like they don't command the best players. Like, you
But they
know, like
used to, dude.
yeah,
Like,
but well, that's what I'm trying to say is that like that will end up hurting the Premier League in the long run. Like if they can't command the best players, like In German league, like yeah, Bayern Munich commands the best players, but besides that, you're not a top player going to like Bayer Leverkusen. You know what I mean? Even though they had a great season, like you're a top player coming to the Premier League. Like all the players that want to come to the Premier League because
I don't think
it's
that's gonna change though. I feel like every player, like
if they're
you
not
always
paying, if
yeah,
they're not
I know
We
paying,
this
haven't
is
we
true, but
haven't
they
experienced that
always
yet.
say like, oh,
Yeah.
like I've always dreamed of playing in the Premier League. So I feel like that's not ultimately
But
gonna
it
weigh
has
in.
to do with money too. Like if you look back, I agree with Potts because in Serie A, bro, look up AC Milan, Inter Milan. Those games, bro, they had Ibrahimovic, Pato, Maldini, like bro, like the stacked players on each team. It was like legends, like a legends game.
Hmm.
that that era, everyone was like, "Oh, I want to play in Serie A. I want to play in Serie A." They didn't suddenly switch and be like, "I want to watch the Prem because it's on more TVs in Asia." No,
yeah,
bro. Let's be real. They switched
okay,
because
so
the Prem was like, "Yo, we're gonna pay you triple what Inter Milan
exactly,
is paying you."
yeah,
So, but I do feel like football is
Yes and
so
no.
established now that even like Saudi and what they're doing can't break that.
That's what I'm
So
trying to
I
say. Like
agree.
Yeah.
that's a perfect example. Like Saudi is not gonna be able to break through and be like,
but
oh, these
Saudi,
people are
but
paying a
Saudi,
bunch
but
of money.
Saudi's not like what. Well, Saudi has turned players' heads, so you can't say that.
These are
But the
like
thing
older
about it is,
players though. These are older
The
players that are
camel
like kind of
goes
nearing
Ronaldo.
like yeah, like these are players that are nearing the
Bro,
retirement
I mean,
era of their
but
life. I feel.
not
that's
not all
Saudi,
of them,
bro.
bro. I mean, you have Ruben Neves, right,
Yeah,
from Wolves that went there. You
John
have Joao
Duran, John
Felix,
Duran,
Joan
yeah.
John
Duran
Duran.
from
You have
FC
Luke,
Villa,
Ivan Tony. Like these players, they
Ivan
went
Okay,
for
but
the
I
Tony.
feel like
money.
Yeah.
all these players you guys have listed, like I feel like most of them aren't like trying to play for as long as Ronaldo. They're not trying to play. They're not trying to be like, okay, we're like,
But
I have my little.
regardless,
But
bro,
that's what
I
I'm
feel like
saying, bro. That's what
99% of players are not playing as long as Ronaldo.
nobody
You
is.
know,
That's
but
why
No
they're
one's
going
okay.
there.
Yeah, that's an extreme like
but
example.
regardless of how long they play, right? Something is attracting them outside of the prem.
It's the money. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
it.
the thing.
But
That's why I agree
I
with
mean, for
Potts.
Saudi, yeah, but not
you're
for.
not
But you can't
you're
say
not
that for like. You can't say that for the Italian league or La Liga. You can't say
what,
the
what do
I
you
money's
do
mean?
think
attractive.
no,
That's what I'm
but if
saying,
yeah,
bro.
that's why I think you're all saying the same thing here, bro.
Yeah, we're all
Like
saying the same thing
yeah,
differently.
I
No,
think we're
but
saying the same thing differently.
okay. Let me say it like this: Saudi, they're getting it. They're attracting older players, younger players, any players just for the money. One, because it's tax free if they're there for a certain amount of years, right? And that's it. Like that's it. They're not going there because the lifestyle is great. It's in the fucking desert. You can't even live with your girlfriend. Like you can't really even drink alcohol like that. Like you're not going to Saudi because it's a good lifestyle. Like you're going there for the money.
Most
You're
players
not
don't
going.
live in Saudi Arabia.
You're not going to the.
Yeah.
People are not going to the Italian league and the German league to like the second rate clubs, or I shouldn't even say second rate, but not the top one or the top two because they're not getting paid what you would get paid in like the Premier League, and that's what I'm trying to
I
say.
think it's more than the money though. I think that's what my argument is. I feel
No,
like
I
people
think you're
want to
both
go to the
right, dude.
Premier
So
League because like
it's a
they grew up watching the Premier League. They were either like really big fan, like like if it wasn't them, then it
but
was
that's
their
why,
dad who
bro.
watched the Premier League.
That's why it's a balance, though. Like, okay, that's why Saudi has to pay so much because they are in the desert. No one grew up
No one
watching
wants
Saudi
to grow
football
up on.
team.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's other leagues where, like, if the Prem really cuts their revenue, bro,
Yeah,
Italy, Spain, Germany, like they start looking a little bit more attractive when it's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
listen,
Hell
bro.
yeah.
they're willing to pay a little more,
Like
bro. Look at what
I think everything
Atletico is
goes full
doing right
circle,
now.
right? So it's like if
They
everything's
just
gonna
got
go
bought
full
by a
circle,
huge U.S. company, and the U.S. company is saying we can beat Real and Barca because they're fan owned, and we can just pump money into Atletico. If this works, I guarantee you, a lot of these billionaires that are right now focusing on the Prem are going to look at La Liga and say, not as much rules. Well, I could buy Getafe, I could buy, Mallorca and just pump this up if the Atletico model works. And I feel like if that happens and you're a Prem player and you're thinking like, well, it's not
But
like
to
La
the
Liga.
Prem's defense, culture will never beat UK other than, no other country will beat UK in terms of culture and just like
and
I
nah,
think you
disagree.
disagree, bro. I
I'm not.
you
And
think
strongly
so?
disagree with that.
I'm not
above that,
hearing
you
that.
just said that everyone's like pretty
Yeah, I
loyal to their
disagree.
team, right? So it's like you're not gonna be like, okay, so all of us aren't just gonna be like, all right, we're not gonna watch the Premier League because like
I'm
No,
saying
it
like
takes time.
English
It takes time.
players are
Like we're
going
seeing
to
the
be
fruits of the '90s, bro. We're seeing the fruits of the '90s. The decisions they make now will be like our kids. It's like City, dude. When City started doing well, everyone's like, no one's gonna switch teams to City. You're right, but you see a lot of young kids with City jerseys these days. It
Sure.
takes time for those fruits to
Yeah.
actually be ripe. And the decisions now, bro, it's not like next year everyone's going to switch to Atletico. But I guarantee you, the bigger they are, over the like 10 years, 15 years from now, you'll see more people with Atletico jerseys, right? Like it takes time for it to actually hit that impact. So I don't know, dude.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like you guys have watched it happen, so like that's kind of a good
Yeah.
insight to have. But it's like I just can't imagine a world where it's like, oh, everyone's gonna stop watching the Prem just because of this.
It's not
Not
going to quit.
necessarily stop
Yeah.
watching it,
It's not going
but
to stop,
more
but it's not
so,
going to be like the. Go ahead, Rob.
yeah, with the likes of Mark Goldbridge getting, you know, a huge contract with the Bundesliga, there's gonna be like these little, like, you know, seeds that other leagues, I feel like, are gonna plant, where they're gonna almost try to compete with the Premier League, you know, and viewership might even take away eyes from the Prem to these other leagues, you know, because of the attraction of new players, because of the attraction of new managers, you know, that we all know and stuff like that, you know. Is that what you're gonna say, Paz?
I was gonna, somewhat, and I was gonna say that, like, the, like, if you're a player, right, and you're like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna live in Manchester and make whatever, or I'm gonna go live in Mallorca and make the same amount. Like you're gonna go to Mallorca, like, and if you look at like European like games, like those fans in other countries, Germany, everywhere else, they actually go crazy. Like they go
Yeah.
proper crazy. Like it's not like a regular stadium.
For sure.
When you
Yeah.
watch the UK, like they're just sitting down. A lot of them, obviously, they have their hooligans and stuff like that. But I mean, take Arsenal's tifo. That thing was trash. Like what? Like they can't even make a proper tifo. You know what I mean? Like these other guys make tifos like that are just like, daunting. Like they're setting off flares, smoke guns, like, bare people with no shirt on.
That's
Like
true.
that
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 is very
that type
true.
of
Yeah.
like, that type of fan engagement is, if you're a player, like you're like, yeah, hell yeah. Like these guys are legit. Like all those little things are gonna sway people in
But
the
this is
yeah.
also for players that are almost like 10 to 15 years old right now,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
are that are like in the youth leagues, that are in the grassroots, going to make it into the next generation of, that are going to
I'm gonna
reap
say
the
we
benefits,
see
like you
two
said,
players.
Steve.
I feel like we see like two type of players that go to either La Liga or Germany or Italy. It'll be either like a young up and coming, like a Jaden Sancho who went to like Dortmund, or Holland went to Dortmund, or it's a declining player. So like, I'm not gonna say Pulisic's declining, but like, or maybe it's someone who wants to get out of
Kyle
the media.
Walker. Kyle
Kyle
Walker.
Walker,
Yeah,
yeah,
came
like
along last year.
like, and
Trent Alexander Arnold, that bum.
you can even say Harry Kane because like Harry Kane was getting older. He wanted. I mean, Harry Kane left because he wanted to win trophies, so it's a little bit different. But
Wait, why couldn't he win trophies in the Prem?
um, well,
Yeah. Go.
we won one last year. So if he stayed, he would have got one. But anyway,
Now
I mean, like
Marcus is
I'm
just
just saying,
saying
like
he's
I
gonna
feel like
come back to win. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just
Big.
clowning.
he might. But no, I'm just saying I feel like we don't really see like a player who is like Elise, right? He left. That's like the one example I would say where he left at his prime to go somewhere else. But you have to also agree that like English media doesn't do any favors for these players either. And I feel like that's kind of a huge like kind of
I
talking
mean, the
point for
But I
media.
feel
these.
like in Elise's sense, I feel like he's like, yo, I can go to this club that's at the top of its league, get trophies, get time on the field at all times, and also make my national club, you
I just
know?
don't think I feel like
And
there's like
it-
But
because of
Marcus,
that.
I think
I feel
you're
like
emphasizing the Prem's current dominance, which I agree with. But I think
yeah,
it can easily. It didn't always. It
it can
wasn't always
switch
like
hundred
this,
percent.
bro. It
Yeah,
wasn't
100.
always like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. 100%. It can
It-
switch. I'm just saying like I feel like it feels more empowering if you do it in the Premier League. And I feel like that, of
right
course, you
now.
guys have been
yeah,
watching
right
longer
now.
right now,
right
yeah.
now. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's always been that way, even back when like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was playing for United. Like like I
No,
feel like it's
definitely not,
been that
dude.
way.
That
That,
time, dude. I'm telling you, you guys have Italy's dominance.
yeah,
Yeah.
Their
back then.
fall off has to
Yeah,
be studied.
Italy dropped the ball for sure, 100%, because they
But
had like these.
even as a Liverpool fan, Owen, Xabi Alonso, McManaman, Jersey Dudek, dude, all our legends left. at their peak because I don't want to just say Liverpool, but like, it wasn't just us. Like, you look at almost every team. It wasn't until Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson in the '90s, and then Mourinho with Chelsea, and all these legends and figures in the game started popping up that it really started. Bro, Wenger is famous for bringing in French non-English players. Before Wenger, the EPL was just English players. Like, foreign
Yeah.
players didn't want to come into the Prem. They weren't. It
It'll never
wasn't
be
even they
like
didn't
that
want to
again,
come.
though.
It
But okay,
was
fine.
ugly British
Fair play,
ball.
but
Yeah.
Oh,
it'll
yeah,
never be like
4-4
that again.
fucking two, bro. Smash them
Exactly.
and long
Smash and grab.
balls.
Exactly.
But it'll never be like
Long
that
balls.
again, right? Like, so like to I get it. Everything goes full circle, and like, yeah, for sure, EPL could drop the ball just like Italy did, but like, it'll never be like that again, where it's like it's only English players, and it's like, yeah, 4-4-2 smash them Brexit ball.
My perspective, Italy's main issue is a lot of their football is impacted by their government. Like, if you look into it in their stadiums as well, bro. If that government decides to make a switch and say like we're gonna create our own independent football association, they could easily say like, all right, we're gonna spend a ton of money. We're gonna open it up to outside foreign investors, and the easy way to get players is go and say like, we're gonna be the next team. You come like what they're doing to like the Saudi is doing. I don't know, dude. I just feel like I obviously love the Prem. I think the Prem is always going to be top, but I do think there's more risk than people give it credit for. And I think this whole going back to the whole reason we're in this section, this whole SCR ruling, it
Hmm.
opens up that risk. Not a ton, but enough that it's like, bro, why would you even open the door? Like, lock that down. Don't let
I
any
feel like
other
this is
league
a
stick their foot
response
in.
to what was the thing that they tried to do in COVID where they were like, oh,
Super League.
Super
Super
League.
Super
League.
League. Yeah, I feel like this is a response to that.
Nah, FIFA World Cup, Club World Cup is like Club World Cup's always
Because
been a
both of
thing,
them, I
bro.
feel like both of them go hand in hand, right? Like, I
Bro,
mean,
wait.
Club World Cup's been there, bro.
Yeah, this
Club
is
Yeah,
so
World
but
Cup's been
confusing.
there.
In like 10 years from now, the Club World Cup is going to be like properly respected. I mean, like, I don't get like this
well,
whole thing is
bro. You're biased. You're biased for that.
no,
Bro,
I'm not
not even
biased.
I,
10
Bro.
just
years.
want-
The
I
champion,
agree with you though. I agree
the
with you.
Champions League wasn't always a Champions League. You know, like it used to have different names. It used to be run differently, right? And then it became the Champions League, and now everybody loves the Champions League. Our whole show is built around the Premier League. And 2 weeks ago, whenever I was making fun of Liverpool because they only got two Premier League champions, obviously they won a bunch of league titles back in the day, but we don't. It's focused on like what's there now, like and it's not a new competition. The Club World Cup's always been there, like how the league has always been there before the Premier League, like how the Champions League was there always before the Champions League. Well, I mean, it started in the '50s, but
sure, but
those
like,
European trophies
Super
were
Cup
always
was
there.
definitely like the Super Cup was an idea of corruption. Like, we can all agree with that. Like that was an idea of straight corruption, and I feel like
Super League, you mean?
yeah, that's why I said the Super League. I don't know if I cut off,
It's a
but
Super
the
Cup.
Super
Super
League,
Cup.
the Super Cup, whatever, was a response. I mean, the Super Cup was an idea of corruption, and this is one of the many ways that protects bigger clubs.
No, dude, the Super League was way worse than the Super Cup, and I just need to emphasize that because it wasn't like the cup that runs concurrent to the league. They wanted to create a league, as in you
Yeah,
leave the Prem and you join a different league. There is
And
no more
new league.
Prem,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
there's still a Prem, but like those teams would not be part of the Prem anymore. It's way worse than a
Exactly.
cup, and that's why the fans were like, "Bro, you cannot just kill
yeah,
our
that would I feel
leagues."
like that would decimate that would throw out everything. That would
So I don't think it's a replacement, and I agree with Potts, right? And but
And the
I got
Super
triggered by
Cup,
it.
by the way, is the Super Cup is the winner between the UEFA
Yeah,
Champions League and the
not that. No,
Europa
no, no.
League.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not the Super
Just the
Cup,
just
not
the
the Super League. The Super League was an idea of corruption, and this is a way to protect the Big Six that the Super Cup or Super League was going to do.
Yeah. I think it's
but
also, dude, like we have a lot of American owners in the Prem and they complain about PSR nonstop. And I feel like this is
right.
so much more aligned to American sports that I think
Yeah.
they look at this and they're like, oh, we get it. PSR was confusing. It never was enforced.
Exactly.
SCR makes sense. Bowley, Red Sox owners at Fenway Sports Group, our American owners have been killing it under SCR similar rules in the US. They all have American teams and they know how to work that system. And now that system is very similar. And Right, I think it's coming from a lot of American owners, to be honest. And if you look at the teams that voted for it, every American owner voted for it. Every non-American, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. It's
there's
just a matter of like, yo, when clubs do get promoted to the Premier League, what's good for them? Like it's they're unless they do something out outrageous, like it's hard for them to stay in the league, right? Like who's gonna be attracted to a promoted team unless it's like someone they already know, or like it's like a star or individual brilliance type of thing. Like what about teams that get promoted into the Prem?
it sounds bad, but for a lot of those teams, man,
It
they
sucks,
dream
right?
of just well, they just I mean, the promotion there is it's like Wrexham, bro. If
Is what
Wrexham
they
ever
yeah
makes it
yeah
into the
yeah.
Prem, that's more than they ever thought they'd
That's
get,
the
right? Like,
trophy. Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
there's a small town in Wales, like they're not
Yeah.
waking up every day being like, this SCR is
But what
limiting our
about
ability
but
to
what
win.
about like a Middlesbrough that used to be in the Prem? You
Ooh,
know,
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, it sucks to
what
have bad
about like a
owners, bro.
Bolton?
like I don't know what else
Exactly.
to say
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that,
But
dude.
like these new
That's
Prem,
a good
these
point.
clubs that started at like 92, 93 when Barclays came through and got everyone, like it was a completely different set of teams that are not even in like the
I say
Prem
like we
anymore,
we
you
just
know?
saw Leeds come back up for the first time. I mean, they went
In a
came up
while.
and went
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
but like like they were like a top team back in when it was the Barclays ball. So
Forest, bro. Forest has more Champions League trophies than well, they're equal to Chelsea. But wait, how many Champions League trophies does United have? Two,
Three.
right?
Three.
Oh,
Three.
okay, so Forest has two, right? Chelsea has two.
Yeah.
Tottenham have.
Yeah. Forest has two. Yeah, you're
man.
right.
But no, I'm saying Forest. I'm just saying Forest used to be a giant, bro.
We're talking about old handball rules now.
Bro,
That's what we're talking
Wimbledon used to be in the Prem, you know?
Yeah, but
Wimbledon used
I'm
to be
like
in the
backing
Prem.
up your point, bro. Like there are
Yeah.
some teams that like people forget. Hey, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be so embarrassed losing 3-0 to Forest. They're old royalty, bro. They're
Yeah.
Champions League
They're one of
royalty.
the
whatever
giant
helps you sleep at
killers.
night, yo. Whatever helps you sleep at
They're
night.
one of the Grimsbys, you know? Yeah,
No, but
man.
they used to be huge, bro. That was
Like if
before even.
QPR came back up, like it's over for them. Unless they do like a miracle thing, it's kind of like, all right, you made it to the Prem, get what you can in the Prem, maybe last it for the year or two, and then it's kind of like go back to the bottom, right? Like these teams that came to the Prem that are like Fulham, I saw come. They were in the Premier League, but they kind of got relegated and came back in. They're gonna stay here now, right? They kind of have established that like middle ground of the table. So it's like,
Yeah, but Brian came in and now they're a middle ground table too. So I mean, like, I think it's
yeah,
possible to be like a middle ground table, but I don't think like no like I don't really see like other clubs getting into that like top six type of thing. Like Newcastle and Aston Villa, they're kind of knocking on the door, and they do have some history, but like I don't know.
You said this affects agents too, right? Like this is gonna affect agent pay and all that stuff.
It's
It's
supposed to
gonna
provide transparency. Well,
yeah
I don't know if it's gonna put limits on it, but we're supposed to be able to. It's gonna measure it in theory.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
gonna
guess it
it,
does
it'll
affect it.
it'll
Yeah.
affect them. So that's the other issue. It's like these agents aren't gonna. I mean, you know, for smaller players, they're not gonna want to be repped by these agencies.
Nah, bro.
yeah.
Agents are always gonna want to. I don't know. I feel like agencies. I don't know, bro. Agents are kind of scumbags, but I get it.
Well,
They say the bad stuff
I'm
of
just
players
saying
they
from
don't
like
want
their
to say.
perspective, that can change how
It's gonna
players
change
are.
the whole negotiations because, like, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
that agent, that was making 20 mil off the thing, the club, it's gonna be like, bro, like we can't afford to pay you that
Can't do
20
that
mil.
anymore. Yeah.
And they're gonna have to
So
Oh
go
yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah.
They're
Good
gonna have to
point.
go somewhere else because they're like, they're fucking up with the numbers. But
so does that
um,
open it up for like new agencies to be born and all that stuff?
uh, it could, it
Or
could.
like like for lower tier teams or whatever who can't flash the most cash. Like
I
they're gonna have like a controlled agency for them for their
I
level.
think that it's going to
Or there's gonna
open
be
up like
levels
the
to it.
scouting market more than anything. Like that's my opinion on all
Yeah.
this. It's going to like make teams like invest like what Chelsea's doing and like trying to pick out like 16-year-olds and like wait till they're 18 for them to come to Chelsea Obviously, every team's not going to have the Chelsea organization where they can put them in Strasbourg or do this or that. But I think that's what's going to end up happening, in that there's going to be a lot more of like unearthing gems instead of like acquiring ready-made players. And I guess that's
Also, to be
exciting
honest,
type of way.
do we
But
know like do we know that much about agencies or agents as is now? I feel like that's what I mean. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't, other than like the super agents, I
Yeah,
don't really know anything about.
well, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying. I think they're gonna start. Well, those three agencies are gonna start suing because I feel like they're the ones that are gonna be starting to be affected.
good,
The streets don't. The streets, remember, was it Mino Raiola?
yeah,
Bro, that man literally was the most gangster of all agents. Literally looks like Al Capone. And
yeah.
bro,
His brother's
I
running
remember.
the shop now.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Balotelli once said he was like a father to him, and that I remember Balotelli talked about him in an interview once, and then I realized like, oh, it's the job of the agents is to like put a. It's honestly take the heat from the fans and do all this crazy stuff, and then everyone blames the agent because everyone hated Raiola, but it's like he's just doing what Balotelli wants. But Balotelli wants to protect his, you know what I mean? And it's like now we all know that, but
So the Athletic reported that Premier League clubs paid a combined agent's fee of more than 400. We'll just use dollars, $527 million last year. So that it's going to get affected. Like
yeah,
they're
that's
gonna
a
be
good
in the
point.
ones
That's a ton of money that you now are
that
calculating
they
into it.
can't they can't spend that on there. So
well they can,
that's what I'm
but yeah,
saying. Like
but it's gonna be
it's
it's
going to be
gonna
monitored.
yeah, it's gonna be in the calculations when it wasn't before, or as strict as it was. But, yeah, I mean,
So this transfer window is for summer and January will be different. Is that what we're saying?
January will be fine. It starts next year, so 2026, 2027.
Summer transfer.
But it'd be a crazy January. Those agents trying to get those deals done
I was about to
before
say
the
we're
rules drop.
yeah. And January is not an easy transfer market in general. Um,
I'm looking forward to seeing Chelsea, be on top
finesse.
because of these rules, and we're gonna find the loopholes. They started making all these rules after Chelsea's new owners. We put them on the long contracts for the amortization. They cut that down to 5 years when we could spread it out over 10. They said
But
no more selling assets to yourself. Cut that off. We're gonna find
it's kind of what I meant, dude. Like the premise is so reactive. Like there's so
yeah,
many holes, and it took Clear Lake and Bowley coming in and being like, "Oh, this is we can like loop this system."
yeah.
Before the Prem was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." Meanwhile, Man City, bro, 115 charges still just,
Ghost. You don't hear nothing about it.
bro.
I feel like we're not going to hear anything about that until Pep leaves.
Bro, I'm not gonna hear anything about that until I die.
Yeah, we're not hearing anything about that.
Bro, it'll be 70 years old and they'll still be talking about it potentially
Everton
happening in court.
deducting points from Everton.
They're gonna deduct it from United.
No, bro, that would actually be great.
Hated, man.
All right. Did we do it? We finished? I think we hit that.
Sir,
Yeah, take us
let
out.
us know if there's anything else you guys want to discuss. Obviously, a lot of hot topics in football right now, and this is one of them.
Right. Well, that is all, folks. Thank you for coming to yet another Informed Session brought to you by Touchwater Productions. I'm your host. They call me Marcus. We'll be back next week, so don't forget to tune in. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment on what team you support, and maybe you can get a shout out. Until next week.